So let's start with a pretty radical question. What if the entire foundation of our education system, this constant push to get back to basics, is completely, fundamentally wrong? Well, today we're going to dive into the brilliant, revolutionary ideas of the late Sir Ken Robinson, who argued that our schools are actually designed to stamp out the one skill we need most right now. I mean, you've heard this a million times, right? It's the go-to line in political debates, at school board meetings. Pretty much anytime someone wants to fix education, the answer is always, let's get back to basics. But here's the kicker. What if we've been chasing the wrong basics this whole time? Sir Ken Robinson's big argument is that the entire premise is flawed because we fundamentally misunderstood what the real basics even are. And that misunderstanding, it's sending us in the exact opposite direction we need to be going. Okay, so let's dig into this idea of getting back to basics. We're going to look at what people usually mean by that, and then we'll see where Sir Ken Robinson says it all goes completely off the rails. So, when you hear basics, you usually think of this. A big push for STEM subjects, science, technology, engineering, math. The idea is that these are the subjects that fuel the economy. And look, Robinson totally agrees. These subjects are absolutely necessary. But, and this is a huge but, they are not even close to being sufficient for a healthy person or a healthy society. And this slide right here, this is the whole game changer. This is the central reframe of his entire argument. He's saying the real basics aren't a list of subjects you can just check off a list. No, the real basics are the fundamental purposes of education, the deep down why we even bother to educate people in the first place. So, if the basics aren't about subjects, then what are they? Well, according to Robinson, there are these core purposes that any truly balanced education system has to serve. He lays out these four pillars you see right here. And his point is that if you over-focus on any one of these, like the economic one, at the expense of the others, the whole system gets thrown out of whack. It's destined to fail, not only its students, but the very society it's supposed to be serving. All right, so first up, the economic purpose. This is the one we hear about all the time, right? It's the original reason we even have mass public education, to create compliant workers for the Industrial Revolution. But just look around. The world has changed. The economy of today is nothing like it was back then. And check this out, because this is where the irony really hits. A massive IBM study asked nearly 2,000 CEOs what the single most important quality for future success was. Their number one answer? Creativity. The very thing that our current system seems almost perfectly designed to crush. Next is the cultural purpose. And this isn't just some fluffy, nice-to-have extra. We live in a deeply interconnected world. Understanding your own culture and having respect and understanding for others is an essential survival skill now. And you build that through a rich curriculum. The arts, the humanities, social studies, all the stuff that often gets cut first. Then you have the social purpose. The philosopher John Dewey said that democracy has to be reborn in every generation. Well, education's job is to make that happen. It's about cultivating young people who are active, engaged citizens, not just passive spectators. And finally, we get to what might be the most important one of all, the personal purpose. Because at the end of the day, education isn't about producing economic units. It's about people, real, living, breathing human beings. The ultimate goal should be to help every single individual discover their own unique talents and passions so they can live a life that they find meaningful. So, if those are the four pillars of a healthy education system, how does our current system stack up? Well, when you start looking at it through this lens, you see this massive, gaping chasm between that vision and our current reality. Let's go back to that economic purpose. Here's that great irony again. We've built a system that's hyper-focused on one thing, standardized testing. It's all about conformity and finding the single right answer. And in doing that, it systematically discourages originality, risk-taking, and the kind of innovative thinking our economy is literally crying out for. And this story is the perfect real-world example of what happens when you fail to adapt. I mean, Kodak was photography. They were a giant. They literally invented the first digital camera, the very technology that would ultimately make them obsolete. But they couldn't change their internal culture fast enough, and the world just left them behind. See, Robinson's huge insight here is that our organizations, and that includes our schools, they aren't machines. They're living organisms. And just like any living thing in nature, if they don't adapt to their changing environment, they die. It's that simple. Okay, so if the big, clunky, top-down machinery of the system is failing us, what's the real core? What's the one thing we really need to get back to? What's the real basic? To figure this out, Robinson points to this amazing thought experiment from the legendary theater director Peter Brook. Brook wanted to find the absolute rock-bottom essence of what makes theater, theater. So he started stripping everything away: the curtains, the lights, the building, everything that wasn't totally essential. And what did he find? The irreducible minimum of theater is just an actor and an audience. That's it. And the analogy for education is perfect. The absolute core, the heart of all education, is the relationship between a teacher and a learner. Full stop. And this is so crucial. All the other stuff, the testing, the curriculum debates, the politics, all of it is secondary. All of it should exist for one reason and one reason only: to serve and support that sacred relationship between the teacher and the learner. If it gets in the way of that relationship, it's not helping, it's hurting. Now, once you really get that the core is the relationship, it completely flips the script on how we should think about making things better. See, real, lasting change in education, it's never going to come from some government mandate handed down from on high. That stuff almost always fails because it treats teachers like cogs in a machine. Real improvement has to grow from the ground up. It has to be cultivated by empowering the people who are actually doing the work day in and day out. And this right here is Robinson's incredibly empowering call to arms. He's saying that the real education system isn't in some government building miles away. It's in the microclimate of every single classroom. When a teacher closes that door, they are the system. The power is right there. So in the end, Robinson's work leaves us with this powerful, provocative thought. True leadership isn't about command and control. It's about climate control. It's about creating the conditions for people, for our kids, to flourish. And that power to change the climate, well, that's in all of our hands.